Hello, I'm Alex Merced, and you're listening to Economics. Why not? On this show, every week we're going to be talking about different economic concepts and economic news. If you enjoy the show, please think of supporting the show by becoming a monthly patron by going to patreon.com/alexmerced. Also, make sure to check out libertydeal.info for all sorts of great products and special deals that you can get through the show, which will also help support the show. And plus a cool reading list over there at libertydeal.info. Enjoy the show. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Economics. Why not? Where we talk about cool economic concepts every week. Can't beat that. Now, what we're going to talk about this week is monopoly price theory. Basically, the idea here is this. In a competitive market, when you have many people providing the same good and service, there's competitive pressures. So what happens is that there's two pressures, because people want something that's quality and they want something that's affordable. So if one business offers a good or service at a certain price, there's two ways for a competitor to try to take away market share or the amount of business, the available buyers, away from that other business. They can either produce something that's better for the price, okay, so they can do something that's higher quality, or they can do something that's more affordable, cheaper, or they can do both, something better for cheaper. Then that's a for sure winner. But the only reason someone would want to make something cheaper or make the investment to make higher quality goods is the idea that, well, I need to compete. I need to be better than my competition. I want to take market share from my competition. So the idea is, what if there was only one provider of that good, and that's it? Okay? That's referred to as a monopoly. Okay, basically one single provider of the good or service. And the idea is that without those competitive pressures, they will cut down on the quality of the product and raise the price, because there's nothing stopping them from doing so, since there's nobody else to compete with. Okay? So basically, since there's nowhere else for you to go buy it, I can make it as low quality as I want and charge you as I much want for it, because you have no other choice. Now, the thing is that there's a lot of debate within monopoly theory. So, more people who follow economists like Ludwig von Mises, like myself, the way they look at monopoly theory is this. You may have situations where you have one provider in a good, a monopoly. But there's two types of monopolies. There's natural monopolies and not so natural monopolies. Now, a natural monopoly is basically one provider who's become the only provider because nobody else can make a better quality product or charge a better price. So the only reason they have that position is because they've outcompeted everybody else. So in that situation, so basically someone who kind of earned that monopoly status, they don't necessarily have the ability to do monopoly pricing. They don't have the ability to lower the quality or raise the price, because the only reason they are a monopoly at the moment is because they offer that higher quality and lower price. The minute they raise the price, it creates a room where a competition can then undercut them, or it creates room where they lower the quality, and then it creates room where a competitor then can offer something of higher quality. Okay, so the idea is that entrants can come in if that door is opened. And again, people always imagine there has to be one competitor who comes out against them. A window, so again, let's say Google. Google's kind of like a natural monopoly. If Google started charging for every time you wanted to do a search on Google's search engine, maybe it's not, the issue isn't going to be, is everyone going to start using Bing, Microsoft search engine? There's going to be many different search engines. There'll be many different smaller competitors that as a whole will compete against Google in that situation, because now that Google has sort of broken what's allowed it to have the market position that it's had. Okay, so a natural monopoly doesn't necessarily have the same sort of predatory power that a not so natural monopoly has. The difference is, with a natural monopoly, there's nothing necessarily barring competition from entering the market. They just can't, because the monopoly's position is strong because of that higher quality, lower price. And the other people can't offer a lower price, they can't offer higher quality, they're just not able to. That's monopoly is fine. Now, an unnatural monopoly is one where you have a monopoly because there's barriers to entry for competition. So competition can't go into that market. So thus, now in that situation, that person doesn't have a monopoly because they have a better price or better quality and have just been able to outcompete everyone. There's just barriers set in place for others to jump in. That occurs because typically government policies, whether it be taxes, regulations, that create new barriers to entering a market, which protects those who are already in the market. Okay, and you see this in the most regulated industries. So if you take a look at any industry that's heavily regulated, you'll see that's not that many participants. And most of the participants who are in those industries have existed since before many of those regulations existed. Because as more and more regulations come on, the costs of complying with those regulations increase, which means that's a lot more upfront cost to just starting the business than there existed before. So a lot of these older firms, they had already started, they already got a leg up, and they already have market share. So they can afford the extra costs to comply with the rules because they're going to have less competition, because newer entrants are just not going to have the capital to start the firm because they got to start with a much higher startup cost than the old firms did when they started, and they have a lot less market share to begin with. So it overall makes the hurdle to compete much harder just at the basic level. So the additional regulation actually benefits the oldest firms in that industry, and they slowly over time become basically monopolies or duopolies. You end up having very few people within that market because of the barriers to entry. Sometimes there's just outright barriers. Sometimes you start taxing firms. Again, the people who are going to be most in a position to deal with new regulations and new taxes are those who are already in a position of power, in a position of wealth. The people who are going to least be able to deal with regulations and new taxes are going to be those who don't already have that wealth, who don't already have that power or that market share. So they're not going to be able to necessarily have the facilities to deal with those costs as old market entrants is. So that's sort of the distinction between sort of a natural monopoly and a not natural monopoly. So when everyone screams like, oh, that's the only company in that industry, you have to ask yourself, did they get there naturally because they outcompeted, or did they get there because of barriers that were erected for competition to enter that market? And once you see it that way, it becomes easier to kind of see what the effects of different businesses in the market are going to be. So that's our discussion on monopoly price theory. My name is Alex Merced. Check out alexmerced.com so you can buy some cool t-shirts like the Make Markets Free Again t-shirt or the Make Markets Not War t-shirt. And if you like the show, please think of supporting the show by going to patreon.com/alexmerced. Thank you very much.